Take your time opening your eyes, there's no rush at all. Just stay in your current position, letting the weight of your body sink gently into the chair. Right now, you're sitting at an old wooden table in a quiet library, the kind with shelves that reach the ceiling, filled with leather-bound books that smell of aged paper and dried ink. A curled piece of rice paper lies spread across the tabletop, its edges frayed from years of handling, and the desk lamp beside it is dimmed low, casting a warm yellow glow that perfectly frames the thread-bound copy of records of the grand historian before you. The pages of the book are slightly yellowed, and if you lean in, you can see the faint brushstrokes of the calligrapher who copied it. I am your sleepy scholar, and for the time ahead, we'll only talk about history as slow as old vines creeping up a weathered stone wall, about that silent empire buried deep underground, more than 2,000 years ago, where time moves at its own unhurried pace. The topic we're exploring tonight is the Mausoleum of Yingzheng, known to history as Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor who unified the warring states. You may have encountered its name in textbooks, or heard it grandly referred to as the eighth wonder of the world, but all that fanfare is too loud, too sharp for this quiet moment. Tonight, we won't talk about his great conquests or the sweeping changes he brought to the land. We'll only focus on the small, tangible details buried underground, the texture of clay, the coolness of bronze, the slow flow of mercury. Just as you can feel the rough grain of the wooden chair beneath you, the artifacts from 2,000 years ago carry the same genuine warmth and weight of a time long past. Don't hurry to step into the underground palace just yet, let's linger at the entrance, with the guards who have stood watch for millennia. It was the spring of 1974, a time when the fields around Lintong, Shaanxi, were turning green with new wheat. A group of farmers were digging a well to water their crops, their hoes striking the dry earth with a steady rhythm. Then, one hoe hit something hard, not the loose stone they expected, but a piece of dense, smooth clay. They brushed away the dirt, and a fragment of a terracotta face stared back at them. Later, as archaeologists carefully excavated the site, they uncovered an entire army that would never disband, never grow tired, the Terracotta Army. Take a few slow steps forward, and you'll see them clearly, emerging from the shadows like figures from a half-remembered dream. They aren't the bright, golden-hued statues you see under harsh museum lights. The original Terracotta Warriors bear the muted, natural color of the earth they were buried in, a soft shade between lush yellow and deep taupe, with subtle variations that make each one unique. If you reach out to brush your fingertips against one, fine dust will stick to your skin, carrying the cool, subtle texture unique to the Guangzhou Plain, mixed with the faint sense of dried plants and minerals that have been trapped underground for centuries. Each soldier has a different height, just like real men. The tallest exceed 1.9 meters, their shoulders broad and sturdy, while the shortest are still a solid 1.7 meters, their frames more compact but no less strong. They stand straight, but not in the rigid, uniform lines of a parade. Instead, like real soldiers on duty, their shoulders are slightly offset. Some have their left foot forward as if shifting their weight, others their right foot tiptoed, as if about to take a quiet step to adjust their stance. Look closely at their faces, that's where the real magic of these statues lies, the reason they feel less like clay and more like people who merely pause to sleep. No two faces are identical, not even slightly. The young soldier on the left has high cheekbones and eyes narrowed into thin slits, as if squinting against the sun over the battlefield. There's a hint of unfaded youth at the corner of his mouth, a faint upward tilt that suggests he's still proud of his new armor. A soft flush lingers on his cheeks, as if he's just run from the ridges of his hometown fields to answer the call to arms. The veteran standing beside him, to the right, has 3 deep furrows etched into his forehead, each one a map of the battles he's fought. His eye corners droop with age, and sparse stubble covers his chin, rough and unkempt. His eyes are cloudy, as if misted by the smoke of countless campfires, yet there's a resolute glint in them that says he'd stand his ground no matter what. Their hairstyles, too, are distinctly different. Ordinary soldiers tie their thick black hair, now faded to brown, into a simple topknot, secured with a plain wooden pin, while officers wrap their topknots in colored silk ribbons. Though the colors have faded to soft pastels, traces of their former vibrancy, crimson, indigo, gold, still peek through the dust, a reminder of the ranks they held. Look further down at their armor, and you'll see the care that went into every piece, designed for function rather than show. Infantry armor is made of small, dense ceramic plates, each one rounded at the edges, smoothed not by craftsmen, but by years of marching that wore away their sharpness, rubbing against the soldier's tunic and the straps of his backpack. The plates are strung together with thick leather thongs. Though the thongs have long rotted into dark dust, the faint grooves where they once sat remain clear, letting you imagine the soft rustle they made when the soldier walked, a quiet sound that mixed with the crunch of dirt underfoot. Cavalry armor, by contrast, has wider, flatter plates, with deliberate gaps at the waist and hips to allow flexibility when bending over a horse's neck. The plates are carved with simple, functional patterns, nothing ornate, just a few straight lines that follow the curve of the body, as straightforward and decisive as the Qin people's character. Most of the weapons in their hands have rusted into shapeless lumps of iron, but the remaining traces of wooden handles, smooth from years of grip, reveal their purposes. Some held long spears for charging, some carried short, broad swords for close combat, and others wore leather quivers slung over their shoulders, still neatly lined with terracotta arrowheads, their tips sharp and pointed as if ready to be knocked to a bow. Besides the soldiers, there are war horses, dozens of them, standing beside their riders as calmly as if they're waiting for the order to move. These horses are slightly smaller than modern horses, stockier and more muscular, built for the rough terrain of ancient China. Their muscle lines are exquisitely carved, bulging pectoral muscles that look like they could pull a cart, sturdy, thick limbs that would carry a soldier for miles. Their ears stand straight and alert, as if listening for the distant call of a bugle or the rustle of enemies in the bushes. Their eyes are inlaid with small pieces of black glass, which catch the faint light and reflect a soft, dim glimmer, as if a tiny spark of life still lingers within the clay. Their manes are carved in thick, wavy strands, some falling over their foreheads, others tied back with leather straps. Their saddles are made of hardened leather, stamped with simple geometric patterns, circles and lines, that were once painted bright colors. Though the leather is now cracked and dry, as brittle as old leaves, the uneven texture still feels tangible beneath your fingers, a reminder of the hands that once adjusted the straps. Now that we've spent time with the guards at the entrance, it's time to step into the real underground palace, the heart of this silent empire. There's no need to feel anxious or tense. Those legendary traps you've heard about are more like intricate, forgotten musical instruments than fearsome tools of death. According to Sima Qian's records of the Grand Historian, the main entrance to the palace is hidden deep within the core of Lishan Mountain, a natural fortress that shields it from the world above. It was sealed shut with massive slabs of bluestone, each one weighing as much as a dozen oxen, and molten copper was poured into the gaps between the slabs. When the copper cooled and hardened, it formed a single, seamless block of metal and stone, leaving no cracks, no crevices, no way for anyone to force their way in. For 2,000 years, this seal has held, keeping the palace's secrets safe. The door you're pushing open now, in this quiet moment of imagination, is actually a stone mechanism door, part of the first line of defense. On either side of the door, hidden in recesses carved into the mountain rock, lie crossbow launchers cast from solid bronze. Their springs are made from multiple strands of thin, strong bronze wire twisted tightly together, a design that gave them excellent elasticity, enough to hurl an arrow with deadly force. If someone unfamiliar with the mechanism stepped through the door, they would trigger a hidden lever, and the springs would snap forward, driving the crossbow arms and sending the arrows whistling softly through the air. But there's no need to fear these weapons now, time has rendered them harmless. The arrows, made of wood and iron, have long rusted away in the damp, still air of the underground palace, their shafts turned to fine dust that coats the floor. Only the bronze launchers remain, their surfaces covered in a thin layer of green patina, lying quietly in the shadows like forgotten toys from a bygone era. The first sensation that greets you as you step fully into the underground palace is coolness, not the bitter, biting chill of a winter wind, but a soft, damp, earthy coolness that seeps slowly from the stone crevices and the clay walls. It's the kind of coolness that wraps around you like a light blanket, the same feeling you get when you dip your hand into a bucket of well water on a hot summer day, instantly soothing any restlessness or warmth in your body. The palace ceiling soars high above your head, higher than any cathedral, painted a deep, inky black to mimic the endless night sky. Scattered across this black expanse are countless stars, each one a small pearl polished until it shines, embedded in the stone. They aren't arranged in rigid, perfect patterns like a map, instead, they're scattered sparsely and randomly, just like real stars in the sky, some bright, some dim, some clustered together in tiny constellations. The largest pearl, said to be the size of a man's fist, sits near the center of the ceiling, and in the faint light of 2,000 years ago, it would have cast a soft, glowing halo that spilled over the walls. At the very center of this starry ceiling hangs a small model of the Big Dipper, crafted from pure gold, its 7 stars connected by thin gold wires, its handle pointing steadily north, exactly as it appeared in the night sky above the Qin Empire, guiding travelers and soldiers home. The floor beneath your feet is paved with large slabs of solid white marble, each one polished until it's as smooth as a sheet of glass, reflecting the faint glow of the stars above so that it feels like you're walking between two skies. Carved into the surface of this marble floor is a detailed map of the Qin Empire's vast territories, a masterpiece of ancient craftsmanship. Winding mountain ranges are made from pieces of deep blue lapis lazuli, their peaks rising slightly above the marble to create a three-dimensional effect. Rivers meander through these mountains, crafted from pale white talc that looks like flowing water frozen in time. Even the smallest details are included, passes marked with small pieces of dark hematite, cities represented by tiny squares of jade, and roads carved as thin, winding lines that connect everything together. A small, raised bump near the center of the map marks the ancient Hanggu Pass, a narrow mountain pass that was once the vital barrier protecting the Qin from the armies of the six warring states. As you walk along the carved path of the Yellow River, you can feel the subtle coolness of the marble seeping through the soles of your feet, mixed with the faint warmth of the lapis lazuli, as if you're truly treading the varied landscapes of 2,000 years ago. Most marvelous of all, the true centerpiece of this underground palace, are the mercury rivers that wind their way across the marble map. Sima Qian wrote in his history that Emperor Qin Shi Huang ordered his craftsmen to use mercury to replicate the 100 rivers, the Yangtze, the Yellow River, and the eastern seas, with clever mechanisms to make them flow endlessly. In other words, this mercury was not just decoration, it was designed to mimic the living, moving waters of the empire. What you see now, as your eyes adjust to the dim light, is a world of soft, liquid silver. The mercury lies in specially carved grooves that follow the path of the rivers on the map, flowing slowly and steadily, though it's more a faint, almost imperceptible tremor than a rush of water, as the completely sealed environment of the palace shields it from any external disturbance. Its surface is perfectly smooth, like a sheet of polished silver, reflecting the faint images of the starry ceiling above. As the air inside the palace stirs gently, carried only by your own breath, those reflections sway and ripple, making it seem as if the entire sky has sunk into the liquid, turning the floor into a mirror that connects heaven and earth. The mercury is cooler than the surrounding marble and stone, a gentle, metallic coolness that radiates outwards in soft waves. If you draw closer, close enough to see your reflection in its surface, but not so close that you disturb it, you'll feel a refreshing chill that settles over your skin, not icy or harsh, but a clean, crisp coolness that clears your mind of any noise. It has no scent at all, no sharpness like ancient wine, no earthiness like the clay of the soldiers, no metallic tang like the bronze crossbows, just pure, neutral cold. It's said that the craftsmen installed small, intricate mechanisms in the grooves beneath the mercury, using the natural pressure of the mountain to keep the liquid moving slowly and steadily. But those devices have long since decayed, their wooden gears turned to dust, their bronze parts rusted into immobility. Only this silver liquid remains, flowing quietly and endlessly underground for 2,000 years, a silent witness to the rise and fall of dynasties, the birth and death of millions, and the slow, unrelenting passage of time itself. At the very center of the palace, where the mercury rivers converge like the heart of an empire, lies the coffin of Qin Shi Huang himself. According to ancient records, the coffin was crafted from rare golden nanmu, a wood so dense and fragrant that it repels insects and never decays. The exterior of the coffin was coated in layer upon layer of molten copper, which cooled into a smooth, shining shell, and this copper shell was in turn inlaid with thousands of small gemstones, rubies for the sun, pearls for the moon, sapphires for the stars, and jade for the mountains and rivers, all arranged in intricate patterns that mirrored the sky and land above. We cannot see this coffin today, though, not because it's lost, but because the real underground palace remains unopened, its seal unbroken, out of respect for the dead and fear of damaging the ancient artifacts inside. We can only imagine its appearance through the words of history books and the quiet whispers of the past. Perhaps inside the coffin, Emperor Qin still wears his imperial dragon robe, its threads woven with gold, and holds the jade imperial seal that symbolized his absolute power, his face as serene and majestic as it once was when he sat on his throne in the grand Xianyang Palace, ruling over millions. But in the end, none of that grandeur matters anymore. What matters is the slow, gentle rhythm of change that governs this underground world. The Terracotta Warriors' colors fade bit by bit, each year losing a tiny fraction of their original hue, until they blend more and more with the earth around them. The mercury's flow slows gradually, imperceptibly, as the weight of the mountain presses down and the mechanisms decay. A thin layer of dust accumulates slowly on the marble floor, on the bronze crossbows, on the faces of the soldiers, a soft blanket that covers the past without erasing it. It's like the time you're feeling right now, slow, steady, unruffled by noise or hurry, a time where every moment stretches out gently, like the mercury in the rivers. Try to imagine it clearly, as if you're standing there 2,000 years ago, one quiet night, when the moon was hidden behind clouds. The last craftsman walked out of the underground palace, his boots leaving faint footprints in the dirt. He paused at the entrance, looking back at the silent soldiers and the dark doorway, before giving the signal. The massive bronze doors closed slowly, with a low, grinding sound that echoed through the mountain. Then, workers poured molten copper into the gaps between the bluestone slabs, the liquid metal hissing as it touched the cool stone. When everything was done, the entrance vanished, blending perfectly with the mountain. This place became a world unto itself, sealed off from the one above. Outside, dynasties rose and fell like waves, wars raged and burned like wildfire, and lives unfolded in moments of joy and sorrow, love and loss. Inside, there was only the silence of terracotta warriors standing watch, the slow flow of mercury rivers, and an emperor's eternal slumber. Time lost its meaning here, a day was no different from a year no different from a century, because nothing changed quickly enough to notice. Now, you can close your eyes gently, letting your eyelids fall like a soft curtain. Picture yourself standing right beside these silver mercury rivers, the coolness of the liquid brushing against your ankles. Surrounding you are the silent terracotta soldiers, their faces turned slightly towards you, as if they're keeping you company. Above your head, the starry ceiling glows faintly, the golden Big Dipper pointing the way to peace. Outside the hidden entrance, threads of rain weave a soft, misty net around the mountain, wrapping you and this entire underground empire in a cocoon of tranquility. There is no noise here, no worries from the world above, no deadlines or demands, only slow, unhurried time, and a deep, peaceful calm that settles into your bones. Emperor Qin Shi Huang spent his life seeking immortality, sending ships to distant lands in search of magic pills, building this grand tomb to preserve his empire for eternity. But in the end, he turned to dust, just like every other person who has ever lived. Only this underground mausoleum remains, a silent monument that guards his distant dream on his behalf. We are but brief passers-by in this long, slow river of history. Tonight, we've been lucky enough to stumble into this quiet, forgotten empire, to feel the faint breeze of 2,000 years ago on our skin, to touch the cool earth of a time long past, and now, to drift off to sleep, wrapped in this deep sense of peace and gratitude for the moment we're in. The soft, steady sound of the world around you lingers on, the quiet hum of the air, the gentle beat of your own heart, like the breath of the earth, or the slow, unhurried footsteps of time. Now, let go of all your thoughts, letting them drift away like dust in the wind. Let the silent watch of the terracotta warriors guard you through the night, let the slow flow of the mercury rivers lull you into calm. Drift into a peaceful dream, a dream as soft and endless as the starry sky above the underground palace. In this dream, there are no emperors or generals, no clashing swords or flashing spears, only a wide, silver river flowing slowly through a quiet land, and an endless, glowing sky that wraps around you like a blanket. Qin Shi Huang was a towering and legendary figure in Chinese history. Believing his achievements surpassed those of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, he boldly coined the title, Huangdi, Emperor, for himself. Looking back at history, the extraordinary empire he built was truly unprecedented, a legacy destined to endure through the ages. Yet for centuries, debates have raged over how to judge his merits and demerits. Some hail him as the greatest man of all time, embodying boundless virtues, others condemn him as history's most heinous tyrant, guilty of unspeakable evils. So which is the truth? Undoubtedly, Qin Shi Huang was a great ruler. He ascended the throne at the tender age of 13, yet even then, he displayed the bearing and vision of a great monarch. He vowed to conquer the 6 rival states and unite the realm under his sole rule. Following the principle of securing internal stability before addressing external threats, he eliminated his power-hungry younger brother Qingjiao, executed his mother's lover, and forced Lu Buwei, the powerful chancellor who monopolized state power, to commit suicide. With keen insight, he exploited the conflicts between the 6 states, sowing discord through intrigue, forming alliances via royal marriages, and implementing the strategy of befriending distant states while attacking nearby ones. In one fell swoop, he annexed the 6 warring states, founding an unprecedented unified empire. He standardized writing, weights and measures, and currency, propelling China's civilization forward and inscribing a glorious chapter in Chinese history. Equally undeniable is that Qin Shi Huang was a brutal despot. Ancient scholars described him as greedy, ruthless, and tyrannical, plundering the realm, oppressing the people, and exhausting the masses to satisfy his own desires. To fulfill his dream of unifying China, he waged endless wars, tearing countless men from their families and dyeing the land red with blood. To indulge his own pleasures, he imposed heavy taxes and corvée labor, building the luxurious Ipang Palace. He upheld the absolute supremacy of imperial power, enforcing harsh laws and severe punishments that brooked no dissent. To enforce his autocratic rule, he burned books and buried Confucian scholars alive, nearly exterminating the nation's intelligentsia. Dominance was Qin Shi Huang's innate gift, the root of both his great achievements and his notorious infamy. He firmly believed that, under heaven and earth, I alone am supreme. His domineering spirit forged his grand empire, yet it also earned him eternal condemnation. In life, his tyranny brooked no disrespect from mortal or deity. In death, his arrogance left behind the eternal enigma of the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor. Legendary was the very essence of Qin Shi Huang's life. The dream of unification pursued by generations of kings was miraculously realized in his hands. The Great Wall, which has stood for thousands of years, rose majestically under his command. This book fairly and faithfully recounts the extraordinary life of Qin Shi Huang, from his entry into the Qin palace, to his mastery of political intrigue, from his first stirrings of love, to his possession of 3,000 concubines in the imperial harem, from his grand tours spanning 10,000 li, to his obsession with immortality. Each chapter vividly and meticulously depicts his journey, unfolding like a scroll that reveals the history he wrote in blood and the empire he built on a mountain of white bones. The Battle of Chongping. 400,000 soldiers of the state of Zhao were buried alive. Only 2 men, a master and his servant, escaped with their lives. Lord Jia raised his hand to heaven and swore an oath, "As long as I draw one breath, I will avenge this upon the state of Qin." On his deathbed, Lin Xiangru presented a plan to destroy Qin, setting off a thrilling chain of events and striking the opening chord in the symphony of the first emperor's rise to power. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky crimson. The riverbank was cold with frost. Caw! A foraging jackdaw let out a shrill, terrifying cry, flapping its wings and vanishing like an arrow into the vast twilight mist. It was this very jackdaw that had pecked Zhao Gao sharply in the face, jolting him back from the jaws of death. Zhao Gao struggled to open his eyes, gazing at his surroundings: a shattered chariot, dead horses, a mountain valley. A wave of confusion washed over him. Am I still alive? He bit his finger, it hurt. Yes, he was truly alive. Tears blurred Zhao Gao's vision, and the horrific scene he had witnessed replayed before his eyes. In the Battle of Chongping, Zhao Kuo, the Zhao commander-in-chief, had died amid the chaos of battle. Zhao Gao had failed to escort Lord Jia of Zhao to safety, and he had been captured by the Qin army along with 400,000 other Zhao soldiers. Never in his wildest dreams had he imagined that in the dead of night, the Qin army would launch a ruthless massacre of their defenseless prisoners. Driven by the instinct to survive, the Zhao soldiers had fought a desperate last stand, sacrificing countless lives to seize a chariot from the Qin forces. Zhao Gao, together with Feng Ting and others, had fled in haste, protecting Lord Jia. Blinded by panic, they had driven the chariot onto a cliff edge, sheer drop ahead, pursuing enemies behind, no time to turn back. Lord Jia had suddenly snatched the whip from Feng Ting's hand, lashing the horses back twice in quick succession. The chariot hurtled toward the precipice. Zhao Gao suddenly remembered Lord Jia. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he struggled to crawl forward a few steps, calling out hoarsely as he moved, "Your lordship! Your lordship!" Zhao Gao came upon a corpse and examined it closely. It was Feng Ting. He crawled a few steps further, and at last, beside the body of a horse, he found Lord Jia. He checked for a pulse, faint, but still there. He shook Lord Jia gently, calling his name softly. After a long while, Lord Jia opened his eyes and glanced at Zhao Gao, whispering weakly, "Gao, are we still alive?" Zhao Gao nodded. "Yes, your lordship. We are still alive. As long as I, Zhao Jia, draw one breath, I will avenge this upon Qin. 400,000 lives." Lord Jia burst into heart-wrenching sobs. Tears streamed down Zhao Gao's face too. "Your lordship, preserve your health. As the saying goes, as long as the Green Mountains remain, there will always be firewood to burn. A gentleman may take 10 years to exact revenge. Let us flee this place of disaster at once." Zhao Gao helped Lord Jia to his feet, and the two limped toward the valley exit. When Lord Jia returned to Handan, after several days of recuperation, his body gradually recovered, but his heart was left with an indelible wound. Whenever someone mentioned the Battle of Chongping, Lord Jia's mind would be flooded with images of that night of swords and bloodshed, the terrifying sight of the chariot hurtling off the cliff edge. In those moments, his blood seemed to boil, his eyes blazing with fury. A nameless hatred festered in his heart, filling him with agony and grief. For many days, Lord Jia was tormented by nightmares, the tragic and brutal scene replaying endlessly, robbing him of sleep and fueling his thirst for revenge. One day, as Lord Jia wandered alone in the courtyard, pondering his revenge against Qin, Zhao Gao approached and reported, "Your humble servant brings joyous news, your lordship. Your vengeance, and the humiliation of our state of Zhao, shall soon be avenged." Lord Jia stared in surprise. "Oh. How so? Speak quickly." "The king has ordered men to capture the fugitive Qin royal grandson Iran. He plans to select an auspicious day to disembowel him and tear out his heart, offering them as a sacrifice to the spirits of the 400,000 soldiers killed at Chongping." But Lord Jia's face did not show the slightest hint of joy. He replied coldly, "Killing a single Qin royal grandson may bring momentary satisfaction, but his life is not worth the lives of our 400,000 men. Besides, Iran is nothing more than an ordinary royal scion. The king of Qin sent him to Zhao as a hostage, but it was all a ruse. If the king truly valued Iran, would he have disregarded his life and slaughtered our soldiers so mercilessly? Killing or sparing such a worthless pawn is hardly cause for celebration." Seeing that his news had failed to please Lord Jia, Zhao Gao replied awkwardly, "Nonetheless, Iran is the king of Qin's grandson. Killing him will at least ease the hatred in our hearts. As for your revenge, your lordship, we can plan it slowly. Opportunities will arise in time. You need not dwell on it so much, your health is what matters most." Lord Jia sighed deeply. Alas, the Battle of Chongping cost Zhao nearly 3 or 4 out of every 10 able-bodied men. Our bravest and most skilled soldiers are either dead or scattered. I fear that if things continue this way, Qin will grow stronger by the day, while Zhao weakens further. Our hope of avenging Chongping will fade away. No sooner had Lord Jia finished speaking than another servant arrived with news. "Grand Tutor Lin Xiangru is critically ill and wishes to see your lordship one last time." Lord Jia had long known that the Grand Tutor was ill, but he had been too preoccupied with the aftermath of the Battle of Chongping to visit him. In the days since his injury, he had forgotten all about it. Now, hearing that Lin Xiangru was on his deathbed, he hurried to the Lin mansion, accompanied by Zhao Gao. Lin Xiangru lay on his sickbed, his vitality fading like a candle in the wind, aged beyond his years. His gaunt face was sallow and dark, his eyes sunken, his lips parched and shrunken, his beard completely white. Gone was the formidable presence he had once exuded when he had ventured into the Qin court as an envoy, outwitted the Qin nobles in debate, and returned the precious Heshabi jade to Zhao intact. The heroic spirit he had displayed at the Mianxi conference, where he had outmaneuvered the king of Qin and restored honor to Zhao, had vanished without a trace. Lord Jia hurried forward to pay his respects, a lump forming in his throat as tears threatened to spill. The Grand Tutor had rendered invaluable service to the state of Zhao, earning renown among the feudal lords as a wise and loyal minister. He had also been Lord Jia's beloved mentor and friend, guiding his education from childhood, nurturing his aspirations to govern the state, imparting wisdom about life, and teaching him the art of warfare and strategy. Every line on the Grand Tutor's weathered face was a testament to Lord Jia's growth. Hearing Lord Jia's arrival, Lin Xiangru opened his cloudy eyes, raised a trembling hand slightly to gesture for him to sit by the bed, and spoke slowly, "This old minister is like a rotting piece of wood, no longer of any use. Before I die, I wish to see your lordship one last time to deliver a few parting words. I have watched you grow up, and for the sake of your future, there are things I ought not to say, yet cannot keep to myself." "I understand your intentions, Grand Tutor," Lord Jia replied. "Please speak freely." Lin Xiangru coughed lightly and continued, "The fact that your lordship survived the Battle of Chongping is a great fortune for Zhao. Though you are favored now, you are merely a royal scion. Whether you will inherit the throne in the future remains uncertain. Regardless, this old minister must offer you a few words of caution, please take them to heart. Among the nobles of the state, Lord Pingyuan and Lien Po are both loyal, brave, and trustworthy men, you should cultivate close relations with them. However, both are advanced in years and may not be able to assist you for much longer. Among the younger generation, Li Mu and Sima Shang are both valiant and resourceful, men you can trust. They will be able to help you achieve great things in the future." Lin Xiangru paused to catch his breath, then added, "This old minister must also warn you about a man named Guo Kai, who serves your father the king. This man is cunning, deceitful, and full of schemes, yet your father is deceived by his false loyalty and holds him in high regard. He may rise to power and seize control of the government one day. Your lordship must be extremely wary of him. If you can eliminate him, all the better, if not, you must avoid offending him at all costs. Otherwise, it will bring you great misfortune." Lord Jia nodded solemnly. Though he had met Guo Kai many times, he had always disliked his scheming ways and treated him with coldness, for which his father had even reprimanded him. He committed Lin Xiangru's words to memory, then thought for a moment and asked, "I have a question to ask you, Grand Tutor." Lin Xiangru nodded slightly. "Speak, your lordship. This old minister will answer to the best of my ability. What strategy do you believe Zhao should adopt in its dealings with Qin? Ever since Duke Mu's reign, Qin has been a ferocious tiger, harboring ambitions to conquer the eastern states. Through generations of diligent governance, its power has grown steadily stronger. Today, it is as ruthless as a wolf or a jackal. Peaceful coexistence with Qin is impossible. Therefore, if Zhao wishes to resist Qin, it must form an alliance with the other feudal states, especially Han and Wei. Han, Zhao, and Wei share a common origin, as the saying goes, when the lips are gone, the teeth will feel cold. We must support one another and refrain from attacking each other, lest we give Qin an opportunity to exploit our divisions." Lin Xiangru sighed deeply. For many years, this old minister has pondered this very question, yet I have never found a better solution. The only viable strategy is the vertical alliance, Hazong, proposed by Su Qin years ago. Lord Jia fell silent for a moment, then said with a touch of melancholy, "The vertical alliance may work in theory, but when multiple states unite, each pursuing its own interests, suspicion is inevitable. How can they act in unison and work together wholeheartedly to resist Qin? Even if they elect a leader, as Su Qin did in his time, the alliance will not last long. All Qin needs to do is sow discord among them, and the alliance will crumble of its own accord. Then Qin can defeat us one by one, and Zhao will still be unable to withstand its onslaught. Is there truly no better way to deal with Qin? Seeing the look of disappointment on Lord Jia's face, Lin Xiangru coughed dryly and said, "There is a strategy, but it is one that would make a gentleman blush. It is nothing more than underhanded trickery." Lord Jia's spirits lifted at once. He knew the Grand Tutor's honorable character well, and urged him on. These are times when propriety and morality have collapsed, when men's hearts are no longer righteous. The old order has been shattered, and a new one has yet to be established. There is no longer any standard to distinguish good from evil, right from wrong. The rise of feudal lords depends solely on brute military force. Loyalty and trust have become worthless as dung. Gentlemen and villains are indistinguishable, only the strong are respected as noble, while the weak are condemned as base. As the saying goes, he who steals a hook is hanged as a thief, he who steals an empire is hailed as a lord. The Zhou royal court still exists in name only, but it is merely a fig leaf for Qin. Qin has refrained from destroying it immediately only to maintain a pretense of legitimacy. Sooner or later, it will tear off this mask and act without restraint. In the face of such a wolfish and tigerish state, why should we adhere to the rules of gentlemanly conduct? Any underhanded tactic we employ is justified, and will be understood by the world. Though Lin Xiangru did not fully agree with Lord Jia's extreme words, he could not deny their truth. Since your lordship sees it this way, this old minister will speak plainly. A fortress is most easily breached from within. To resist the might of Qin, we have two options. First, to strengthen ourselves rapidly. Second, to weaken our enemy. These two strategies can be implemented simultaneously. To strengthen ourselves quickly, we must reform our internal laws, eliminate political corruption, appoint virtuous and talented men, and enrich the state and strengthen the military. This old minister has advised the king of this many times, but alas, Lin Xiangru's voice trailed off, unspoken words hanging in the air. And what of weakening the enemy? Lord Jia asked eagerly. There are many ways to weaken an enemy. If military force is not enough, we can resort to other means, moving from open confrontation to covert intrigue, sowing chaos within Qin to exhaust and weaken it. The most common tactics are the beauty trap, the stratagem of sowing discord, and the ruse of alienation. King Zhou of Shang was destroyed by his infatuation with Daji. King Yu of Zhou's obsession with Bao Si led to the rebellion in Haojing, forcing King Ping to relocate the capital eastward. These are all examples of a state being destroyed from within. Such tactics may not yield immediate results, but their success depends on the ingenuity of the plotters. They are indeed base and clumsy, but with careful planning, they will surely succeed. Lord Jia fell to his knees with a thud, kowtowing repeatedly as he said, "Please, Grand Tutor, devise this plan for me. If Xiao does not destroy Qin, we will surely be destroyed by Qin in the future. If we act now, we may still have a chance to succeed. Otherwise, it will be too late for regret." Lin Xiangru motioned for Lord Jia to rise, then spoke slowly, sending a beautiful woman directly into the Qin palace may not be easy, but we can act indirectly. And there is an opportunity right before us. The Qin royal grandson Iran is being held hostage in Zhao. He may seem like a worthless pawn, a hostage whom the king of Qin does not care about at all, but a rare commodity can be turned to great profit. With careful planning, Iran can become a convenient channel to infiltrate the Qin palace. Lord Jia's eyes lit up with excitement. Please explain further, Grand Tutor. Lin Xiangru paused to gather his thoughts, then said, Iran is the son of Crown Prince Anguijun of Qin. Whether he will be named heir apparent after Anguijun ascends the throne is uncertain, but man proposes, heaven disposes. Your lordship might as well take a gamble. From what this old minister knows, Anguijun has many wives and concubines, but his only favorite is Lady Huayang, and she has never borne him a child. As the saying goes, a woman relies on her beauty in youth, and on her sons in old age. A mother's status is elevated by her son. Lady Huayang understands this well, and she surely wishes to have a son of her own. We can send someone to persuade her to adopt Iran as her son. If this succeeds, Iran will have a chance to become the crown prince of Qin. Currently, Iran is a stranded royal scion in Zhao, a hostage with no wife or children. Your lordship can take this opportunity to find a woman of exceptional beauty and send her to marry Iran, charging her with the same mission as Shishir, who sacrificed herself to seduce King Fuchai of Wu and bring about the downfall of his state. If our plan is kept strictly confidential and proceeds smoothly, not only can we weaken Qin, but we may even have a chance to destroy it entirely. Perhaps carried away by the brilliance of his own plan, Lin Xiangru broke into a fit of coughing. Lord Jia hurried forward to pat his back gently, then asked with a hint of doubt, it will be difficult enough to find a woman as beautiful and patriotic as Shishir, who is willing to sacrifice herself for her country. What is more, finding someone to go to Qin and persuade Lady Huayang will be no easy task either. This old minister has never met such a woman, Lin Xiangru admitted. But as for someone who can go to Qin to persuade Lady Huayang, I do have a candidate in mind. Please name him, Grand Tutor. I will personally visit his home and beg him to assist us in this plan. This old minister once chanced to meet a man named Lu Buwei. He is originally from the state of Han, but now he is a merchant in Handan. Though he is a businessman, he possesses great political acumen. He has often confided in me his desire to abandon commerce and enter politics. I have long wished to recommend him to your lordship, but have never found the right opportunity. Now he is the perfect man to help you execute this plan to weaken Qin. As a humble merchant, his approach to the Qin royal grandson Iran, and his subsequent journey to Qin to lobby Lady Huayang, even arranging a marriage for Iran, will not arouse any suspicion. As long as your lordship keeps this plan strictly secret, only 3 people will know the truth, you, me, and Lu Buwei. And since this old minister will soon be dead, there will be no chance of the secret leaking. If your lordship does not fully trust Lu Buwei, or if you believe he cannot accomplish this task alone, you can also send one of your most trusted confidants to assist him. Whether we succeed or not, this old minister. Before Lin Xiangru could finish speaking, he felt a sudden tightness in his chest. A thick phlegm lodged in his throat, and he coughed violently, unable to clear it. His face turned from sallow to red, then to blue as he struggled to breathe. Lord Jia rushed to massage his chest and pat his back, but it was of no avail. By the time the servants rushed in from the outer room, Lin Xiangru's eyes, sunken and wide open, stared fixedly ahead. He had breathed his last. Lord Jia threw himself upon Lin Xiangru's body, crying out in grief, "Grand Tutor!" Wails of sorrow echoed throughout the Lin mansion. On this day, in Handan, the capital of the state of Zhao, Yingzheng, who would later become China's first emperor, was born. Zhao Ji, a beautiful woman of courtesan origin, gazed at the frail infant in her arms. How could she have dared to hope that this child would one day shoulder the great task of unifying China? Yingzheng's father grew increasingly suspicious that the boy bore no resemblance to him. When he furtively caught sight of his wife Zhao Ji and the wealthy merchant Lu Buwei leaning intimately against each other, rage surged within him. He roared aloud, "Whose son is Yingzheng, really?" The snow had stopped. On the empty streets of Handan, only Yiren wandered alone. The crunching sound of snow under his feet echoed, matching the heaviness in his heart. Moments ago, he had been confined in a death cell, yet somehow, he had been released without rhyme or reason. Hadn't King Zhao intended to execute him to pay tribute to the Zhao soldiers who died at Chongping Pass? Yiren could not fathom why the king had a change of heart. He brushed aside the confusion, survival was all that mattered. As the saying went, it's better to live in poverty than to die honorably. While walking, a fragrant aroma of wine and food suddenly wafted to his nose. Looking up, he saw that he was beside Handan's most renowned inn, the Gentleman's Delight Tavern. Yiren paused to take a deep breath, craving more of that savory scent. He hadn't smelled anything so inviting in ages. But all that filled his lungs was biting cold. He shuddered, wrapping his threadbare clothes tighter around himself. Stealing a glance at the tavern, he saw a dog trotting out with a bone in its mouth. He felt even more wretched than that dog, for at least the animal had been given a lowly bone. Yiren sighed softly and was about to leave when a loud shout rang out. A magnificent carriage pulled up beside him. The curtain lifted, and a middle-aged man dressed in a fox fur coat and fur hat stepped out. "Isn't this Prince Yiren?" the man asked. "Since you're here, why not come upstairs for a drink?" Before Yiren could respond, the man laughed heartily and continued, "You may not know me, but I know you well. As the grandson of the Qin king held hostage in Zhao, your name is known throughout Handan. I am Lu Buwei, a native of the state of Han, and I do business here in Handan. It is my great fortune to meet you today, a fateful encounter. If you don't disdain my humble origins and the stench of money on me, I invite you upstairs for a drink." "Well, Brother Lu, you are too kind," Yiren replied. "In my desperate state, your kindness means more than I can say. I already feel a bond with you, rank and status mean nothing between us." "Then let's go, Prince," Lu Buwei urged. Lu Buwei was a regular patron of the tavern. As soon as they ascended the stairs, a waiter hurried over to lead them to a luxurious private room. After seating them, he brewed tea and asked, "Boss Lu, please tell me what dishes and wine you'd like. I'll see to it personally. Today, as I have the honor of meeting Prince Yiren, we'll have the finest food and wine available, Lu Buwei answered. When the food and wine were served, Lu Buwei only took a few symbolic bites. Yiren, however, gobbled up the food without any regard for dignity. He hadn't tasted such delicacies since leaving the state of Qin a decade earlier. For over 10 years, ever since his grandfather King Zhaoxiang of Qin sent him as a hostage to Zhao, relations between Qin and Zhao had remained tense, and his predicament had been dire. In the past, King Xiaocheng of Zhao had occasionally hosted him at banquets, but since the Battle of Chongping, all his daily supplies had been cut off. He had survived by selling the furnishings of his residence, living no better than a street beggar. When Lu Buwei saw that Yiren had nearly finished eating, he smiled faintly, raised his cup, and said, "To complement our drinks, I've asked the innkeeper to send for a songstress. Would you care for some entertainment, Prince?" As Lu Buwei spoke, he clapped his hands 3 times. A beautiful woman entered, and to the melodious sound of a qin, she sang softly. On the hill grows the thorny elm, in the marsh stands the white elm. You have robes and gowns, yet you don't wear them with grace. You have carriages and horses, yet you don't ride them with pride. When you perish, others will enjoy them. On the hill grows the evergreen oak, in the marsh stands the catalpa. You have halls and chambers, yet you don't sweep them clean. You have bells and drums, yet you don't strike them to play. When you perish, others will possess them. On the hill grows the lacquer tree, in the marsh stands the chestnut. You have wine and food, why not play the essay every day? Rejoice in your blessings, and savor the long days. When you perish, others will enter your home. Immersed in a gentle, intoxicating melody, Yiren felt as if he were walking the streets of his homeland, Xianyang. He imagined riding a grand carriage toward the imperial palace he longed for, bells ringing, drums beating, and fine clothes and delicacies coming to him in abundance. Moreover, the song was sung to a Qin folk tune, which stirred his nostalgia for his homeland and his longing for the splendid court life that should have been his. With a wine cup in hand, Yiren began to sob. When Yiren's emotions had somewhat settled, Lu Buwei signaled for the songstress to withdraw. He spoke seriously, "Your homeland is growing increasingly powerful, and it has the ambition to conquer the 6 states and unify the realm. Have you given any thought to your own future?" Yiren gave a bitter laugh. "Future? That belongs to Qin, to Lord Ongua, and Guojun. I might become a sacrificial offering for Zhao at any moment. What future is there to talk about?" "Ridiculous, utterly ridiculous." "You're right," Lu Buwei replied. "Given your current situation, you could indeed become a sacrifice any time. But why resign yourself to fate? Why not strive to reclaim what should be yours? You are a prince of Qin, you might even become the ruler of the mighty Qin one day. Have you never dared to dream of being king?" Yiren shook his head. "That's a fantasy. Why should I dwell on something impossible? My father, Lord Ongua, has more than 20 sons, and I am not his eldest legitimate son. My birth mother, Lady Xia, is not favored either, otherwise, why would that old man have sent me here as a hostage? Who among them cares about me? Who cares if I live or die? Their hearts are filled only with land and power. Let alone becoming king of Qin, merely returning to Xianyang is my greatest wish." Lu Buwei smiled faintly. I am just a merchant, but if you trust me, I can help you restore your family's glory, return to Xianyang, and even make you king of Qin. Iran spurted out the wine in his mouth and laughed aloud. You should first glorify your own family, sir, he said. When you've become a king yourself, then you can come help me claim the throne. Lu Buwei felt a flicker of annoyance, but he had to admit Iran spoke the truth. In their era, merchants, no matter how wealthy, held extremely low social status, even lower than commoners, only slightly better than criminals and courtesans. Despite his luxurious attire, he still looked like an upstart merchant, never able to don the garments of nobility. The irritation vanished from Lu Buwei's face as quickly as it had appeared. He knew the mission he bore, to endure humiliation to help Prince Jia achieve his great cause. There would be more humiliation to come in the future, but he understood that humiliation could pave the way for fame and glory. If he succeeded, not only would Prince Jia keep his promise, but Qin would also reward him amply, perhaps even more than he deserved. Lu Buwei spoke solemnly, you have a point. I am merely a commoner, but what you don't know is that my family's glory can only be achieved through yours. If you ever ascend the throne, will you still let me remain a commoner? Iran was stunned, realizing Lu Buwei was not joking. He stared at him and asked, please speak plainly, sir. If you can truly help me escape this predicament, I will repay you generously in the future. You must have heard the story of his jade disc, right? Lu Buwei asked. Iran nodded. Back in the spring and autumn period, a man named Bian He from the state of Chu had obtained a piece of uncarved jade. He presented it to King Li of Chu, who had craftsmen examine it. The craftsman claimed it was just an ordinary stone, so King Li, believing Bian He was trying to deceive him, had Bian He's left foot cut off. Later, when King Wu of Chu ascended the throne, Bian He presented the jade again. King Wu also thought it was a fake and had Bian He's right foot cut off. It was not until the reign of King Wen of Chu that Bian He, hugging the jade, wept at the foot of Jing Mountain. King Wen heard of this, had the jade carved open, and discovered the priceless gem inside, thus, it was named his jade disc. Somehow, the jade had fallen into the hands of King Huiwen of Zhao. In response, Iran's grandfather, King Zhaoxiang, had claimed he would offer 15 cities in exchange for the jade, attempting to seize it through deception. However, Lin Xiangru, a man of wisdom and courage, had exposed the plot, giving rise to the story of returning the jade disc intact to Zhao. Enraged, King Zhaoxiang had tried to intimidate Zhao with military force, but he was repelled by the valiant general Lien Pe. In the end, Qin and Zhao signed an alliance at Mianxi, and it was because of this alliance that Iran had been sent to Zhao as a hostage. He was therefore well acquainted with the origin of his jade disc. Why do you ask about this, sir? Iran wondered. Lu Buwei smiled faintly. You are like his jade disc hidden in uncarved stone, worthless in the eyes of ordinary people, but invaluable in mine. In fact, you are far more precious than that jade disc. Of course, a gem requires a skilled craftsman to polish it, and I am that craftsman. If you follow my arrangements and do as I ask, you will surely return to Xianyang and ascend the throne. I am dull-witted, Iran said, half believing. Please explain more clearly, sir. Seeing the time was right, Lu Buwei revealed his carefully laid plan. In my view, getting you back to Xianyang is easy, the hard part is making you king. To ascend the throne, you must first be made crown prince. The Qin king is already elderly, so your father, Lord Ongwa, will inherit the throne soon. Lord Ongwa is over 50 and has always been in poor health. Once he becomes king, he will immediately appoint a crown prince. Among your more than 20 brothers, your eldest brother Zichu is most favored by Lord Ongwa and has the greatest chance of being made crown prince. But I recently received reliable news that Zichu has had a falling out, nothing major, with Lady Huayang, Lord Ongwa's favorite concubine. I will tell you the details later. If you can use this rift to align yourself with Lady Huayang, this powerful patron, you will have already won half the battle to become crown prince. As for the other half, with my careful planning and mediation, victory will be assured. Having said this, Lu Buwei fixed his gaze on the stunned Iran and pressed, "Don't you believe me?" Iran snapped back to his senses and stared at Lu Buwei in astonishment. He never imagined that this unimposing merchant knew so much about the affairs of the Qin palace, things even he, a member of the Ying clan, was unaware of. Where had Lu Buwei obtained this information? Why was he helping Iran ascend the throne? What was his motive? It seemed their meeting today was no coincidence. Guessing Iran's thoughts from his changing expression, Lu Buwei drank a cup of wine alone and laughed. To be honest, I have been watching you for a long time. I am a merchant, and I pursue profits, preferably exorbitant ones. Farming yields at most 10 times the profit, trading jewelry yields 100 times. But if I help someone become king, well, you can calculate the profit for me in the future. What if I refuse your offer? Iran asked coldly. Or what if I try to do this on my own? Lu Buwei stroked his beard. If you don't follow my advice, you will be waiting for death. If Qin and Zhao go to war again, you will definitely be the first sacrifice. If you try to do this alone, you lack the financial backing. Where will you get hundreds of taels of gold to bribe the Zhao guards to let you escape? Where will you get enough silver to make a name for yourself in Zhao and the other states? Where will you get countless treasures to win Lady Huayang's favor? Do you have the means to cover all these expenses? In Handan, or even among all the feudal states, how many people besides me, Lu Buwei, can afford this? Iran's confidence wavered. Just how wealthy are you, Sir Lu? How rich can you be? My wealth is enough to rival a nation, Lu Buwei replied. It is more than sufficient to help you ascend the throne. What if you exhaust all your wealth and end up with nothing? Iran pressed. Lu Buwei still smiled. Don't forget, I am a merchant. All merchants share a common trait, the courage to take risks. And I dare to take risks that no other merchant would. With my wisdom and ability, I will succeed. Even if, by some twist of fate, I fail, I will fail gloriously, epically, leaving a mark in history. Iran stood up, filled both his and Lu Buwei's cups with wine, and personally handed a cup to Lu Buwei with both hands. From today onward, I will follow your guidance in all matters, sir. If you can truly help me return to Xianyang and ascend the throne, I am willing to share the rule of Qin with you. After speaking, he stepped back 2 paces and bowed deeply. Money makes the world go round. With piles of gold and silver, Lu Buwei paved a path from the streets to the Qin imperial palace for the homeless Iran, and also forged a shortcut for himself to change his fate and join the ranks of the powerful. Iran's shabby residence was torn down, and grand, magnificent halls were built in its place. He recruited countless servants, both male and female, and raised a private army of loyal warriors. As the saying goes, fine clothes make the man, and a saddle adorns the horse. With Lu Buwei's wealth to adorn him, the shabby, humble Iran vanished, replaced by the Prince of Qin, whose name was known throughout Handan. Lu Buwei not only used material resources to groom Iran but also mobilized people to boost his reputation. At Lu Buwei's suggestion, Iran emulated the "for noble lords" of the time, Lord Pingyuan of Zhao, Lord Chunshan of Chu, Lord Mengchang of Qi, and Lord Xinling of Wei, and began hosting scholars in his residence. Meanwhile, Lu Buwei secretly bribed people to spread word in the various states, praising Iran as a virtuous and benevolent man. Particularly in Qin, Lu Buwei used merchant networks to spread Iran's fame and expand his influence there. While doing all this, Lu Buwei urged Prince Jia to find a woman of extraordinary beauty, yet none of the candidates had satisfied him. One evening, Lu Buwei visited Prince Jia at his jade palace as scheduled, and the two talked while drinking. Suddenly, the soft sound of a qin drifted from the courtyard, like a stream thawing in spring, gurgling along, now slow, now quick, stirring endless reverie. Gradually, the music grew louder, clear and lively, like young orioles singing from the valley or fledglings carrying mud to build nests, refreshing and invigorating. Though Lu Buwei often frequented social gatherings and had heard countless vulgar songs and romantic melodies, he had rarely encountered such fresh, bright music infused with the charm of rural life. He put down his wine cup and listened intently. Noticing this, Prince Jia smiled and asked, "I take it you are a connoisseur of music, Mr. Lu?" Lu Buwei mocked himself. "I am just a merchant, all I know is money, and I reek of profit. I have a passing familiarity with the noisy tunes of the marketplace, but elegant music like this, music for gentlemen like you, I, a man of low tastes, cannot truly appreciate. But I can feel that this qin music is fresh and bright, like a stream of clear water washing my face. It makes me feel as if I've returned to my childhood, playing in the fields, catching dragonflies, and picking wild flowers." Prince Jia laughed heartily. "You are too modest, Mr. Lu. Your feelings alone show you are a true music lover. If you're in the mood, I'll ask my wife to come to the hall and play a tune to accompany our drinks." "Oh, so it's your wife playing?" Lu Buwei exclaimed. "No wonder her skill is so exquisite. I wouldn't dare trouble her." Prince Jia quickly explained, "She's just a concubine I recently took in. She's from the countryside and often gets homesick. When she misses her family, she plays the qin to ease her sorrows. I suppose she's feeling nostalgic again." With that, he ordered a maid to invite Rui from the inner courtyard to play in the hall. The tinkle of jade pendants rang out as Rui stepped into the hall with small, delicate steps. She bowed deeply, then sat down at the qin and gently plucked the strings. The melodious qin music and a delicate fragrance filled the air. Lu Buwei froze, his wine cup suspended halfway to his lips. He recognized this tune, though he didn't know its name. It stirred up countless memories like smoke from the past, the hillsides, the woods, the wild flowers and weeds, and a little girl named Yue. Back then, there had been no qin or zhu, a stringed instrument, but he had made a willow flute with his own hands. That had been enough. He had played this folk tune, taught to him by his grandmother, for Yue, over and over again. Brother Bao, teach me. Please teach me. No, I won't. You're so stupid, you still can't play it after listening 10 times. Little fool, little fool. Wah, wah. Yue had cried. That voice seemed to come from a distant place, yet also from the depths of his heart. Lu Buwei blurted out, "Come, let me teach you." His hands trembled uncontrollably, and the wine cup slipped from his hand, clattering on the table. He realized his gaffe just as Rui finished playing. That was wonderful, he quickly covered up. Exquisite beyond words. I felt as if I were in the immortal palace of Yao Qi. Marvelous, truly marvelous. Thank you for your kind words, Rui replied. She stood up, bowed again, and cast a puzzled glance at Lu Buwei. Lu Buwei also looked at her more closely, wondering, how could she know this tune? According to his grandmother, she had composed this folk song while picking tea leaves, and he had never taught it to anyone else. Could she be Yue? No, that was impossible. How could Yue have ended up here? There was no trace of Yue in her. Lu Buwei was about to ask when Prince Jia waved for Rui to withdraw. At the moment Rui turned to leave, a bold idea suddenly struck Lu Buwei. When you search everywhere in vain, it turns up when you least expect it. But she was Prince Jia's beloved concubine, would he be willing to part with her? Lu Buwei didn't know how to voice his request. Just then, Prince Jia spoke up. Mr. Lu, I've ordered my men to search for the beauty you asked for. They're reporting candidates from all over the state, and they'll be sent to you soon for your selection. Lu Buwei sighed. The woman I'm looking for must be beautiful, of course, but more importantly, she must have charm, depth, and the spirit of self-sacrifice like Shisha, able to help you accomplish your great cause. The 10 beauties you sent me earlier, for example, were all beautiful, but they lacked depth and couldn't shoulder important tasks. Prince Jia nodded in agreement. You're right. Such women are indeed hard to find. Could we train them and then select the best? Lu Buwei shook his head. A man's nature is hard to change. A person's temperament, disposition, and will are innate. Later training can only enhance one's abilities and knowledge, it cannot alter one's true nature. Pausing, Lu Buwei glanced at Prince Jia and ventured, I've found someone who meets the requirements, but I'm afraid someone won't agree to let her go. As long as there is such a person, I won't spare any amount of money, Prince Jia said. Where is she? She's not far away, she's right here in your mansion, Lu Buwei replied. Prince Jia was stunned. Are you talking about my concubine Rui? Lu Buwei declined to confirm. Are you willing to part with such a talented and beautiful woman? Prince Jia fell silent. Lu Buwei pressed on, before Shisha was sent to the state of Wu, wasn't she the beloved of Go Jian, king of Yu? To avenge his country's destruction, Go Jian endured the pain of giving her up. To avoid being tempted by her beauty, he had a veil draped over her face every time he met her. In the end, he steeled his resolve and personally sent her to Fu Chai, king of Wu. Since ancient times, beautiful women have been seen as a curse. King Zhou of Shang doted on Daji and destroyed his kingdom. King Yu of Zhou favored Bao Si and staged the farce of lighting beacon fires to amuse a beauty, which led to the fragmentation of the Zhou dynasty and the chaos of the warring states period. For Yu, she sure helped Go Jian destroy Wu and revitalize his country, but for Wu, wasn't she also a curse? That's why, after Wu's destruction, Fan Li, fearing King Go Jian would not have the heart to kill her, secretly had Shisha put to death. The story passed down later, that Minister Fan retired to seclusion with Shisha, is a falsehood. Fan Li, who could renounce his wife, children, and high official position to see through the vanity of the world, would never have taken a woman associated with a fallen kingdom with him. Seeing Prince Jia's expression softening, Lu Bue pressed further, since the reign of Duke Xiao, Qin has harbored ambitions to dominate the world and conquer the eastern states. Today, that ambition is on the verge of being fulfilled. It's uncertain whether the combined forces of the 6 states can resist Qin. If you don't care about the fate of your ancestral temple and your state, you can continue to enjoy fine clothes, delicious food, and the company of beautiful wives and concubines, but can you be sure you'll enjoy these blessings for life? Of course, it would be better if Zhao's military strength alone could rival Qin, and we wouldn't need to resort to such a strategy that might invite future ridicule. But after the Battle of Chongping, Zhao lost more than half of its able-bodied soldiers, and the state's vitality has been severely damaged. We urgently need to recuperate, develop production, strengthen the country and its military, and then wait for an opportunity to avenge Chongping. But will Qin patiently wait for Zhao to grow strong again? Without someone acting as an insider in Qin, without someone whispering in the ear of the future Qin king, how can we achieve this? Prince Jia's resolve was shaken. He thought of that terrifying night, Qin soldiers waving their swords, heads rolling on the ground, and he felt as if he were back on the galloping carriage, fleeing for his life. His eyes turned bloodshot, and he slammed his wine cup on the table. He was about to say, "I agree," but the words changed in his mouth. "Let me think it over carefully." Lu Bue knew Prince Jia would not readily hand over his beloved to an enemy, but from his expression, he could tell Prince Jia would eventually agree. He took his leave and returned to his residence. The moon had climbed above the treetops. Rui leaned against the window, staring through the lattice at the crescent moon. Since being sent to the mansion, she had lost her appetite and slept poorly. At first, she had felt wronged, she had cried and complained, resenting Zhao Jia for being heartless, for sacrificing her to vent his personal grievances and save Zhao's fate. But she also knew Prince Jia was helpless, and she understood her place in his heart. He cherished her like a pearl, holding her carefully for fear of dropping her, holding her gently for fear of melting her. Losing her would be like tearing out a piece of his heart. Rui knew Prince Jia well. For love, he would risk his life. For righteousness, he would sacrifice his love. For Zhao's ancestral temple and state, he would give up everything. Besides his grandmother and mother, Prince Jia had never knelt before any other woman, let alone a concubine. Yet he had knelt before her, begging her, telling her the story of a woman who had sacrificed herself for her country. From that day on, she had remembered the name of that woman, Qin Shi. Rui had never seen Prince Jia shed a single tear before, yet he wept uncontrollably as he sent her away, clinging tightly to her hand. His tears moved her deeply, yet also shattered her heart. She knew those tears were sincere, a crystal-clear reflection of a man's profound love for her. But those tears were also deceptive, tricking her into reenacting Qin Shi's tragedy in the name of Qin Shi's story. Nevertheless, she was willing to be Qin Shi. She had no desire for eternal fame or to be remembered by a nation. She did it solely for the man who wept so bitterly, for the heartbreak of a proud man who had knelt for her. Rui only knew that the man she would now belong to was Iran, the once down-and-out Qin prince who had recently risen to prominence. She had no idea how the handover would be arranged. That was all in Lu Buwei's hands. When Lu Buwei crossed her mind, Rui felt an indescribable sense of familiarity, as if they had met somewhere before, yet she could not recall where. She had moved too many times in her life to trace those fleeting memories. She had hoped to find a chance to talk to Lu Buwei, but she had not seen him once since arriving at his residence. Gazing up at the crescent moon outside the window, Rui thought of her hometown, her parents who had died a tragic death, and the beautiful days of her childhood. Before she knew it, tears streaked down her cheeks. She sighed softly, murmuring to herself, "Since ancient times, beautiful women have suffered cruel fates. Let it be. If you marry a chicken, follow the chicken. If you marry a dog, follow the dog." Rui walked to the Qin, stroked its strings, and played that nameless tune once more. When the melody ended, she remained immersed in its mood, lingering, more precisely, in the innocent joys of her childhood. In a daze, she sensed someone entering. Startled, she looked up and saw a man standing before her. It was Lu Buwei, whom she had met at Prince Jia's mansion. Before she could speak, Lu Buwei addressed her first. "I was drawn here by this wonderful music. This is the first time you've played the Qin since arriving, isn't it?" Rui froze for a moment, then replied coolly, "Mr. Lu, I am no longer a young lady. Shouldn't you call me madam?" "No. From this moment onward, you must understand that you are a young lady. There is no madam here. Remember this, the Madame Rui you once were is dead," Lu Buwei stated with unshakable authority. Rui glared at him angrily but said nothing. Lu Buwei paused, gathering his thoughts before continuing, "Regardless of where you were born, you are now a subject of Zhao. You must also forget the name Rui. To ensure you never forget Zhao or the mission you bear when you enter Qin, you shall be called Zhao Ji. Whenever you hear this name, remember the task Prince Jia has entrusted to you." Zhao Ji means, a woman of Zhao, simple to remember, and pleasant to the ear. Though it carries a tinge of humiliation, this name may yet go down in history. Zhao Ji remained silent as a form of wordless resistance. Lu Buwei softened his tone and asked, "May I ask, Miss Zhao Ji, what tune were you playing just now? Where did you learn it?" Seeing the sincerity in his expression, Zhao Ji shook her head. "I don't know its name either. I learned it as a child from an older brother in Yangzhai of the state of Zheng." Lu Buwei's eyes lit up. He studied her carefully, stammering, was his name Bauer? Did he have a black mole on the palm of his left hand? Zhao Ji stared at him in shock, rising to her feet unconsciously as she searched his face intently. Lu Buwei raised his left hand, a copper coin-sized black mole came into view. Zhao Ji asked in amazement, Bauer? Is it really you, Bauer? She took 2 steps forward, nodding and shaking her head at the same time. Lu Buwei hurried over and grasped her hands. You're Yuer, you must be Yuer. No one else in this world could play this tune. I should have realized it that day at Prince Jia's mansion, Yuer. He held her hands even tighter. The two sat down again, pouring out their experiences since they parted. Lu Buwei vaguely recalled a spring afternoon when he and Yuer had been flying kites. Suddenly, Yuer's family had rushed over and taken her away. After days of not seeing her, he had gone to her home, only to learn that her father had died in battle and she had returned to her grandmother's home with her mother. He had never heard from her again. It all felt like yesterday. The memories of their innocent childhood and the stirrings of youthful affection made Lu Buwei's heart race and his blood surge. He asked awkwardly, Yuer, how have you lived these years? When did you enter Prince Jia's household? Lu Buwei's question touched a raw nerve. Her life after leaving Yangzhai was too painful to recall, her mother's remarriage, her stepfather's gambling addiction, the end of her carefree girlhood, and her fall into the lowest rungs of society. Her mother had died resentful, unable to endure her stepfather's beatings. In despair, Zhao Ji had been sold into a brothel, and after many twists and turns, she had arrived in Handan. Her exquisite Qin skills had caught Prince Jia's attention, and he had ransomed her from the brothel to keep her in his mansion. Though she had become Prince Jia's concubine, her lowly birth had subjected her to endless mockery, discrimination, and jealousy, casting a shadow over her heart. She had never imagined that Prince Jia would now sacrifice her to be the second Shishir for his personal grievances and Zhao's future. In plain terms, he wanted her to use her beauty to bewitch a man and destroy a nation. Women are a curse, yet this curse was imposed by men, forced by them, deceived by them, toyed with by them, made to serve them, only to be branded as wicked in the end. Not to mention other countries, even the common people of Yu in those days had forgotten Shishir's merit in destroying Wu. What awaited her was the fate of being deemed a relic of a fallen state, worthy of nothing. Alas, such was the lot of women. Lost in thoughts of her past and uncertain future, silent tears streamed down Zhao Ji's face. Seeing this, Lu Buwei quickly apologized, Yuer, I didn't mean to upset you. If this pains you, don't speak of it. Let's talk about something pleasant instead. Zhao Ji burst into loud sobs. Lu Buwei did not know how to comfort her. After a long while, when her emotions had calmed slightly, he sighed, how wonderful it would be if people never had to grow up, like when we were in Yangzhai, innocent, carefree, and free to do as we pleased. But growing up is inevitable, and with it comes worries and pain, rushing about for fame, profit, and survival, fighting against our own kind, where it's either you or me. Zhao Ji stopped crying and stared at him wide-eyed. If you men understand this, why don't you stop your madness? Why must everything be decided by swords and battles? Why can't the states coexist in friendship and mutual non-aggression? Peace in the land and prosperity for the people, this is what sages advocate and what commoners long for. Lu Buwei did not answer her questions. He merely shook his head, as if having an epiphany. Perhaps it's tied to the greed of human nature. The pursuit of money, power, status, and land is endless. Such frantic grasping inevitably triggers wars, and many people are dragged into them against their will, forced to do things they hate but cannot refuse, just like Prince Jia, who endured the pain of giving you up. Zhao Ji looked at him faintly, her voice tinged with sorrow and resentment. What kind of man cannot protect his own woman? If a man lacks the ability to fight for what he wants and relies on a woman to gain it, even if he succeeds, it will be a humiliation when told. Lu Buwei wondered if she was referring to Prince Jia, or speaking to him indirectly. He felt his face burn as a memory resurfaced. One morning, he and Yue had been picking wild flowers on a hillside when a huge python suddenly darted out of the bushes. Yue had screamed in terror, and though he had been terrified too, he had put on a fearless front, calmly killing the python with a large stone. He had wiped away her tears and comforted her. Don't be afraid. I'm here to protect you. A python is nothing, I'd kill a tiger for you too. Now, the memory made his face flush. Fortunately, the light was dim, and Zhao Ji could not see his embarrassment. Lu Buwei felt a twinge of guilt. Prince Jia was unworthy of being called a man for failing to protect his woman, yet he himself was no better. Though Yue had never been his wife, he cherished her more deeply than Prince Jia ever had. Yet he was the one who had proposed sending her to Iran. If Yue knew he was the mastermind, how would she resent him? He could have claimed he did not know her true identity at the time, but now that he did, what should he do? He did not want to send Yue to Iran, nor did he want to return her to Prince Jia, for then he would lose all access to her, perhaps even the chance to see her again. He wanted Yue to stay in his mansion forever, by his side. But immediately, he dismissed the thought as ridiculous. Prince Jia would never agree. He would rather give Yue to Iran than let her return. At least with Iran, Lu Buwei could see her often. Even if he could not possess her, just catching a glimpse of her now and then would be enough, for Yue had always been the lover of his dreams, the idol of his youth. Moreover, Yue had grown into a woman who stirred men's desires. If there were no constraints, Lu Buwei would have embraced Yue in his arms then and there. But he would not because he dared not, but because he chose not to. It was like a man who was not starving being given a delicacy, he would save it for when he craved it most. Women, however, were not food. What Lu Buwei truly desired was to make her take the initiative to fall into his arms, and he was confident in his charm and ability to make that happen. The day Lu Buwei had been waiting for came sooner than expected. It was an afternoon in late spring, unbearably sweltering, more like summer than spring. Zhao Ji sat alone in her room, feeling stifled. Beyond the oppressive weather, an indescribable longing stirred within her. Since moving to Lu Buwei's mansion, she had been deprived of the joys a woman deserved. For a mature woman like her, being without a man felt like losing half her life, leaving her with no zest for living. On such a bright spring day, when flowers bloomed and even hibernating insects ventured out to find companions, how could a woman with normal desires remain unmoved? The only people around her were maids, every face she saw was female. The only man who could enter the inner courtyard was Lu Buwei. Zhao Ji felt both anger and resentment toward Lu Buwei. He was the one who had proposed sending her to Prince Iran of Qin. If not for him, she might still be in Prince Jia's embrace. Yet Lu Buwei had also been the first man to stir her youthful heart. First love was unforgettable, though she did not know if the affection she had felt for him in Yangzhai could be called love. She would never forget him. Perhaps it was pure friendship between a boy and a girl. But was there a clear line between friendship and love? Few could answer that. In this manless world, Lu Buwei was the only man Zhao Ji saw. He was her only option for the fulfillment she craved, and he was not an unpleasant man. To many women, Lu Buwei was quite masculine in appearance and build. What infuriated Zhao Ji, however, was Lu Buwei's lack of initiative. He had never made a romantic advance, not even a loving glance. Perhaps he was mindful of her identity and mission, she thought. Zhao Ji prided herself on her beauty. Any man who saw her should be captivated, otherwise, there must be something wrong with him. After days of interacting with Lu Buwei, she had begun to suspect he might be that kind of man. Why else would he show no improper interest in her after all this time? Lost in these thoughts, Zhao Ji was startled by a cat's sharp yowl. Looking up, she saw Lu Buwei walking slowly along the garden path. After a moment's hesitation, she hurried to a spot he would pass, pretending to amuse herself by admiring flowers and chasing butterflies. Lu Buwei, deep in thought, suddenly caught sight of Zhao Ji in a white gauze dress chasing a butterfly ahead. His heart skipped a beat, silently praising his own foresight. If this woman could move a seasoned man like him, how much more would she captivate Prince Iran? Iran, over 30, had never known the pleasures of a woman. His hunger for female companionship was unimaginable. Lu Buwei stopped to watch Zhao Ji dart among the red flowers and green leaves, which brought back memories of their childhood games. Zhao Ji pretended not to see him, focusing on chasing the butterfly. Suddenly, as she lunged for it, she stumbled into Lu Buwei's arms. Feigning surprise at his presence, she bowed and apologized. "Oh, Mr. Lu, no, Brother Lu. I was so focused on chasing the butterfly that I ran into you. Please forgive me." You're too polite. "There's no need for such formality between us," Lu Buwei replied. "I was passing by and saw you chasing butterflies, so I didn't disturb you. It's rare for you to be in such high spirits. Why not ask some maids to accompany you? It would be more enjoyable. I'm used to being alone." "I don't like the noise of a crowd," Zhao Ji said, casting a sidelong glance at him. Tentatively, she added, "If you don't have urgent business, Brother Lu, won't you come inside for a chat? I have many things I'd like to ask you." This was exactly what Lu Buwei had hoped for. He agreed readily. Once inside, Zhao Ji chatted with him while making tea. She handed him a full cup, and as he reached for it, she deliberately knocked the cup against his hand. The teacup crashed to the floor, splashing tea on Zhao Ji and staining her white dress. Lu Buwei quickly stood up to apologize. Zhao Ji smiled faintly. "It's nothing. I'll just change into another dress." She walked into the inner chamber, and soon emerged gracefully. Softly, she asked, "Brother Lu, do you think this dress looks nice?" Lu Buwei's eyes widened. Zhao Ji had changed into a gown of gossamer thin silk, its transparency revealing her supple body in all its allure. His heart raced, his face flushed, and his eyes reddened with desire. He swallowed hard, unsure what to do, when suddenly, a clap of thunder boomed. Zhao Ji covered her ears with both hands and screamed, "Brother Lu, I'm terrified of thunder. Hurry and close the door." Lu Buwei rushed to shut the door, then pulled the panicked Zhao Ji into his arms. "Don't be afraid, Yue. I'm here to protect you." Zhao Ji leaned into his chest, looping her arms around his neck. She pressed her full breasts against his body. Lu Buwei, no longer able to control himself, lifted her into his arms, carried her to the bed, and tore off the sheer silk gown in one motion. After days of intimate companionship, Lu Buwei no longer wanted to give Zhao Ji to Yiren. Zhao Ji, having tasted the joys of love with Lu Buwei, was equally reluctant to leave him. On nights when he did not visit, she grew restless and found the day utterly meaningless. Yet Prince Jia had sent messengers repeatedly to press for progress. After much deliberation, Lu Buwei decided to endure the pain of giving her up. One day, he invited Yiren to his mansion for wine. During the feast, Lu Buwei asked, "You've been in Zhao for so many years, my friend. Have you ever had a soulmate? If you've taken a fancy to any young lady, just say the word, I'll help you fulfill your wish." Yiren gave a bitter laugh. "Since I was taken hostage in Zhao, I've lived in abject poverty. There were times when I had neither proper clothes nor enough to eat. Women were the last thing on my mind. Thanks to you, I now have status and prosperity. Occasionally, I've met women I liked in teahouses or taverns, but those were just casual flings, nothing serious." Lu Buwei had once promised to find Yiren a wife of exceptional talent and beauty. Months had passed without mention of it, and Yiren had been too embarrassed to ask. Now that Lu Buwei had brought it up, Yiren guessed he had found someone suitable. Sure enough, Lu Buwei said with enthusiasm, "I promise to find you a wife with both beauty and talent. After searching extensively, I found someone. But I didn't dare send her to you without your approval. I invited you here today to let you see her for yourself." No sooner had he spoken than a faint Qin melody drifted from behind a curtain. At first, it was as soft as insect chirping in a deep valley, but gradually it grew louder and more resonant, like mountain springs gurgling over stones, clear and melodious. Then it became like a spring breeze rustling through a forest, rich and layered. Suddenly, the grand sound faded into a gentle murmur, like a stream winding through bamboo. Presently, a woman's tender singing joined the music. Reeds grow green and lush, / dew turns to frost at dawn. / the one my heart adores / stands on the distant shore. / I trace the winding path, / long and steep the way. / I row across the stream, / she's there, mid-water gay. Reeds grow thick and tall, / dew still clings at daybreak. / the one my heart desires / stands where the river bends. Yiren knew this tune well. It was Reeds, a folk song from Qin, depicting the poignant longing of a lover for their beloved. Its melancholy melody stirred his soul. Iran was completely enraptured by the beautiful singing. Lu Bue laughed heartily. "My friend, the Qin is beautiful, the tune is beautiful, and the singer is even more beautiful." He clapped his hands 3 times, and the curtain slowly drew back. Zhao Ji, dressed in a pink gauze gown, sat playing the Qin with her head bowed. She was as enchanting as Daji reborn or Shisha resurrected. Iran stared, transfixed. He had never seen such beauty. Unconsciously, he stood up, rubbing his eyes to see more clearly. Then he heard Lu Bue say, "Miss Zhao, come and greet Prince Qin." Zhao Ji rose gracefully and bowed to Iran. Every feature, her nose, eyes, eyebrows, lips, was flawless. Her figure and attire were perfectly elegant. Iran marveled at nature's masterpiece. He swallowed hard. If he could win this woman, he would have no regrets even if he never returned to Qin. Forgetting to return her bow, he stammered, "El Lu. Brother Lu. Is this the wife you found for me?" Lu Bue smiled faintly. "Are you not satisfied? If you don't like her, I'll continue my search." "No. No need," Iran exclaimed. "To marry such a woman is the greatest blessing of my life. But I don't understand, why aren't you tempted by such beauty? How can you bear to give her to me?" A wave of bitterness surged in Lu Bue's heart. He forced a smile. All men appreciate beauty. As Mencius said, "I desire fish, and I also desire bear's paw. If I cannot have both, I will give up fish to take bear's paw. Everything I do is to gain your favor, so that I may rise to prominence with you in the future, become a minister, change my status as a despised merchant. If I indulged in my passion and kept Zhao Ji for myself, you might not say anything openly, but you would surely resent me. Would you still share the world with me someday? That is why I endure the pain of giving her up. It is not that I do not want her, but that I cannot. But I must warn you, if you agree, I will arrange the wedding at once. Marriage means you have a family, and as the saying goes, establish a family before building a career. Your next step is to strive for your ambition. Never lose yourself in love and forget your mission to return to Qin, otherwise, you will betray my sincere efforts." Iran nodded repeatedly. "You are absolutely right. I will never forget your advice. Once I am married, I will send messengers to Xianyang and act according to your plan." With Lu Bue's meticulous arrangements, the wedding was grand and solemn. On her wedding day, Zhao Ji mechanically let the maids dress her. Though it was supposed to be a joyous occasion, there was no happiness in her heart. Her soul felt as if it had fallen into an ice cave. She thought of her turbulent youth, and grief welled up within her. She had climbed from the bottom of society to the prince's mansion, only to be sent here by Prince Jia. In just a few months, she had found love, tasted its sweetness, and understood that the union of body and soul was true love, the greatest joy a woman could know. A joy she had only felt with Lu Bue. As for Prince Jia, his affection had been more about physical possession. There had never been a true connection of hearts. Yet she believed he had loved her deeply, a love rooted in trust, which was why he had endured the pain of giving her up for a task no one else could accomplish. Thinking of her future, Iren's expression when he first saw her flashed through her mind. To be honest, Iren was barely ordinary looking. No wonder King Zhaoxian of Qin had disliked him and sent him to Zhao as a hostage. In Zhao Ji's eyes, he looked somewhat shabby. Without his luxurious clothes, he would have been no different from a street rogue. Though Iren now enjoyed fame and admiration, Zhao Ji harbored deep doubts, for she knew it was all a scheme concocted by Prince Jia and Lu Buwei. They were betting on Iren, gambling on the fate of Qin and Zhao. It was an unprecedented wager, and she was the die they had cast for Iren. Prince Jia's success depended on her and Lu Buwei, one the gambler who rolled the die, the other the die itself, while Prince Jia reaped the rewards. Zhao Ji had no idea what the odds of winning were. The thought of her uncertain future sent a chill to her heart, and large tears rolled down her cheeks, leaving 2 dark streaks in her powdered makeup. Lu Buwei entered. Seeing the tears on her face and the glistening drops on her jaw, he wanted to offer comfort, but the words stuck in his throat. He had already said those comforting words 100 times, they were now redundant, and would only deepen her sorrow. He stood silently by, watching the maids adorn Zhao Ji's hair with ornaments. His heart ached. This was the woman he loved, the woman he had cherished. Just last night, they had clung to each other through a night of reluctant intimacy, and now he was giving her away to another man. Could his heart not ache? There was a saying, the most useless man is one who cannot protect the woman he loves. Lu Buwei, who prided himself on wealth comparable to that of feudal lords and wisdom surpassing that of Guanzhong, was forced to personally give his woman to a coward he despised. It was a bitter irony for both him and Prince Jiao. If their sacrifice of personal desire was for the greater good of the state, what would the final outcome be? Would their efforts bear fruit? As a merchant, Lu Buwei knew this was a gamble, and he had no idea of the odds. Yet as a descendant of a merchant family, he thrived on such uncertain games. They were more thrilling, more capable of unleashing the full potential of human nature. When the maids finished dressing her, Zhao Ji looked up, fixing Lu Buwei with eyes. Suddenly, she felt a wave of nausea. The food she had eaten that morning rose in her throat. Dizzy, she coughed violently, trying to vomit, but nothing came up, only a sour taste filled her mouth. She swallowed hard, forcing down the nausea. Lu Buwei frowned. He dismissed the maids and asked with concern, "Where, are you unwell? Did you catch a cold last night? Should I send for a doctor?" Zhao Ji shook her head gently, looking flustered. "I think I'm pregnant." Lu Buwei's eyes widened in shock. "Is this true?" Zhao Ji nodded seriously. "How long has it been?" he asked. "Nearly 2 months," she replied. Lu Buwei's face turned red with frustration. 2 months. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Hearing the rebuke in his tone, Zhao Ji retorted coldly, "My period was late last month, but I wasn't sure." "It wasn't until just now," she trailed off. Lu Buwei sighed. "But now. The auspicious hour is almost here." He had been about to say, "It's too late for an abortion," but the words died on his lips. He paced back and forth in the room, then stopped abruptly, his tone final, "Find a way to hide this from Iren. I'll figure out what to do about the abortion later." "What if I can't hide it?" Zhao Ji asked. Lu Buwei smirked cunningly. With your wit, I refuse to believe you can't fool a fool like Iran. Don't be so conceited, Zhao Ji scoffed. Lu Buwei's smile turned grim. Humph. Even if Iran finds out the child is mine, so what? I'm the one who gave him this woman, and I'm the one who gave him everything he has now. Without my help, for all his current glory, he'd be thrown into prison overnight. Zhao Ji said nothing, she knew he spoke the truth. But she could not bear his overbearing attitude. It's shameless of you to boast like that, she retorted. A man who can't even protect his own woman has no right to flaunt his power. Lu Buwei's lips trembled with anger, but he could not utter a word. He stood in silence for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, then said coldly, "This matter is between you and me, and heaven. Never breathe a word of it to anyone. I'll handle the rest properly." With that, he strode out, his footsteps heavy. "Brother Bauer." Zhao Ji called out affectionately. Lu Buwei paused, hesitated for a moment, then resolutely continued walking without looking back. Zhao Ji stared at his tall figure, tears streaming down her face. Like a puppet, she was escorted to the wedding carriage. A new life awaited her, but what kind of life? What fate lay ahead?